All right, we are back, and we have a special guest with us today, hailing from North Shelly Beach in New South Wales, Australia. This 21-year-old started the 2024 calendar year with an equal fifth at the Sam Bazan WSL Junior Championships in Oceanside, and just 10 months later, he has finished seventh on the Challenger Series and will join the Global Elite on the WSL Championship Tour in 2025. How is that for a glow up? Prior to his assault on the CS this season, he ramped up a growing list of accolades with another win at the Burton Automotive Pro in Newcastle, claiming the honor of being the first male to win SURFEST back-to-back in its 38-year history. One of the vanguard of the next generation of Australian surfers to make their mark on the global stage, he represents Quicksilver, DHD Surfboards, FCS Fins, Monster Army, and Slime's Surf Shop. Ladies and gentlemen, Australia's Joel Vaughan. Joel, thanks so much for coming on the lineup, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
So we ran through your list of accolades, and that's all pretty much in the last 12 months. And you've been such a busy traveler over the last couple of seasons. We want to get into that, but where are you talking to us from today?
I'm actually just sitting in my living room at home on the Central Coast of New South Wales.
Oh, good man. So I was going to get into that a little later, but since you brought it up, I'm curious because so many young Australians, men or women from around the country, so many of them end up sort of migrating to the Gold Coast as soon as they kind of hit a certain age, they hit a certain level of talent and attention. But it's good to hear that you're still holding it down on the Central Coast, man.
Yeah. It's kind of pretty easy for me because just live at home at the moment with my family, and it'd be too expensive to rent a place on the Gold Coast when I'm pretty much just traveling most of the year anyway. So I do spend a lot of time up there surfing and just hanging out, but yeah, I spend most of my time here on the Central Coast.
Good for you. Well, let's talk about the CS season in reverse, because we're just a couple weeks coming off of the final event of the Challenger Series season, the Corona Saquarema Pro presented by Banco de Brasil. You went in there, you were within the cutoff line. I think you were ninth maybe heading into the event, but a lot of action around that cutoff line at 10 for the men's rankings there. What was it like heading to Saquarema? How confident were you in your ability to get a result? And yeah, walk us through how it felt when you finally clinched your spot on the 25 CT.
Well, yeah, I came into the event knowing I was in ninth, but I knew a few people, if they made one heat, would all jump over me. So I kind of thought of myself being outside of the top 10 just to put a little bit of pressure off myself. But yeah, I just kind of just tried to focus on everything I could control and just try to surf my heats as well as I could. And it was definitely very nerve-wracking. I think I surfed my round of 32 heat, and then there was like a 7-hour gap between my round of 16 heat. And as I've come in, I was in the competitors area, and I saw everyone, I think someone lost, and then the WSL confirmed George to qualify, and I was right there, and I was so stoked for him. And then from that, I actually knew that if I'd made my next heat, then I would tie points with George, so I knew that I'd probably qualify as well. So I was absolutely stoked to see George qualify, and then it all hit me at once, and I was like kind of tripping out and didn't really know how to react. So I just kind of went home and switched off for a fair bit, just watched a bit of Netflix and tried not to focus on the surfing too much.
What are we watching on Netflix? I want to know.
I was watching a bit of Prison Break.
There you go. That's good.
Yeah, I've actually watched it before. That was a few years ago, and it's just come back onto Netflix.
That's maybe like an apt metaphor for the Challenger Series anyway. It's like, all right, So it's a little bit of subconscious of like getting out of prison. So good for you.
Yeah, sort of, for sure. Yeah.
Well, how was that heat? Obviously, you had the epiphany heading into it that like, well, if I win this heat, I tie George. They just celebrated George. He's on tour. Did it feel different? Was there anything different about that heat, or were you just like, it's another heat? If I think of it differently, I'm screwed?
No, I was trying to think of it as like a really cool opportunity for myself. I just wanted to embrace it and like kind of just take in all the emotions and all the thoughts that were coming through my head. And I guess I just wanted to embrace it, and just because like it's such a cool thing to be able to be like one spot off qualifying. So I thought of it as a good thing instead of like a bad thing. And whether if I made it or not, I know that I did my best. So it was still absolutely nerve-wracking though. I can't say that the nerves weren't there. And it was a really slow heat as well. And it was against Hiroto Ohara. And he actually sat like down the beach a bit. And he started off with like a 6, and I couldn't find any waves. And I had priority and had to like decide to move up there with him, and just so like if a good wave came, I could take it off him as well. And then I got like a 4, which ended up being my backup. But then I've just gone, okay, I'm going to move back down to where I was sitting with like under priority. And then just like a pretty sick wave came through, and I ended up getting like a 7.8, I think, on it. And then the heat was just went so slow, and there wasn't much opportunity for myself or Hiroto, and yeah, ended up making it through.
It's a good story. Well, let's wind it back a little bit. In the intro, mentioned that you actually started the year at the World Junior Championships. When you approached the season at the start of 2024, like, did you have any goals? I mean, for someone like yourself who's still so young, but started the year in this prestige junior event and got into the Challenger Series and then qualified for the CT, like, was that even on your radar at the start of January?
I'm not too sure. I was kind of really focusing on trying to win that World Junior event. It's such a prestigious event and something that was one of my goals. But I didn't do as well as I wanted to. And then my kind of goals for the start of the season were to, I don't know, just surf and see how well I went in the first few events. Because I hadn't really had too many good results in the last 2 years. And I thought maybe I might just see how I went and try to fit some free surfing in, and then it ended up like, I don't know, I had some weird kind of thoughts at the start of the year. Maybe I couldn't really decide if I really wanted to do the whole season on the Challenger Series.
Right.
But after the first event, I was all in, and even though I got knocked in the first heat,
right. And what were I'm curious too, because I've heard this from a few surfers as well. Like, what were the hesitations? Is it just it's expensive? It's a huge amount of time commitment, especially for a young surfer that's like, well, I want to develop, I want to free surf. What were you thinking? Where you're like, maybe I won't do all the events?
My thoughts for that was just the first 2 events are in Australia. I'd qualified for them. I was like, I'll do those and see how well I go. And but yeah, I hadn't really. I think I got 28th in the first year I did it, and 29th in the second year.
Right.
So I was like, maybe I just need to work on my surfing and take a bit of time off, and just give myself some time to develop my surfing and try to get better. And then I don't know, I got into the snapper event, and I got knocked by Sammy, Pupa, and Alejo, who both did really well in that event. So I was like, maybe I can just keep going and really commit. So I just kind of threw that idea of I guess like taking time off out the door, and just fully committed.
Yeah, and a 9th in Bolito, a 17th at the U.S. Open. I don't know if you remember what you were ranked after the U.S. Open, but probably weren't quite in the top 10, I'm guessing, with 2 events remaining, and then a 3rd in Ericeira, and you're in the mix, So At what point in the season? I mean, it must have been Ericeira where you're like, "Whoa, this could be a possibility for me."
Yeah, well, I think I was around 27th.
Okay.
After the US Open.
So better than the last couple of years. You're like 29, 27. So.
Yeah. So I was like around about where I was, and I really like Portugal, and I was like, oh, I might as well just go. And I knew that like the points weren't as high as the last few years, so I was thinking if I got one really good result, that had put me in a good spot, and just happened to get a third and got into ninth before Brazil. And yeah, I don't know, I just tried to focus on just doing some fun surfing.
It worked out. You mentioned, compatriot George Pittar, who's going to be joining you on the CT next year. Were you guys traveling together, kind of hanging together on the CS this year? And if so, or if not, like who was sort of your support crew on tour this year, if you had one?
No, we didn't actually travel this year together. There's a lot of Aussies in the Challenger Series at the moment, so we all kind of just travel in a couple little groups, and then we all actually end up hanging out at one house anyway, and so we all actually end up hanging out. But I was traveling a lot with my dad, and also Oscar Berry and Dakota Walters as well. We traveled to most of the spots together, and it was a real fun time.
Good for you. Are you gonna keep? Is Dad gonna come on tour next year on the CT?
Dad's gonna be coming. I think my whole family's actually gonna come to Hawaii for the first event, which will be really cool.
Very cool. Well, congratulations on the qualification. We're going to take a quick break to get a word in from our sponsors, and when we come back, we will wind the clock back on Joel Vaughan. All right, we're back. This is the lineup. I'm here with Australia's Joel Vaughan, who just finished 7th on this year's Challenger Series. Will be joining the elite surfers on the Championship Tour in 2025. Joel, you come from North Shelly Beach in New South Wales. For the listeners out there, explain where that is, what the community's like, and what family life was like for you growing up.
Well, it's North Shelly Beach is like an hour and a half north of Sydney, so we're pretty close to the city, but we still kind of little local town, and there's not too many surfers during the week, but on weekends it can get pretty hectic. But we've got a really good community of local surfers. We got our board riders club that's, I think, like we've won the Australian Board Riders Battle before, and we've got like a huge amount of members who are all so supportive of myself, and also like my brother as well. Everyone's really frothing for us, and it was actually funny. I got home just a couple of days ago, and my oldest brother came over for what I thought was going to be a little family dinner night, and we live across the road from a bowling club, and I've walked over, and there was actually a bunch of people from the board riders there to like welcome me back and throw a little like celebratory party for me, which was pretty sick. And it kind of just shows like how supportive our whole community is.
Yeah. And, good surfers have emerged for decades out of the Central Coast. I mean, you've had, your Molly Picklums and your Macy Callahans, but, the Avoca area, you got your Ace Buckins. And so, it's not, as we kind of talked about the upfront, that sort of like central hotspot for producing CT surfers that maybe Snapper Rocks is now, but world-class waves, world-class surfers. And, who are some of the surfers you looked up to growing up?
I always looked up to like my brothers. I would always surf. I've got two older brothers, Zach and Curtis, and then I've got my little brother Huey. But I'd always look up to my little brothers, my older brothers surfing, and also like a big part of my the like people I looked up to were Shane Holmes and Russ Maloney. Mm-hmm. They were two surfers who surfed incredibly good, and they're also really good surfers and really good friends of mine now, and they're also amazing people, and they surf really sick, so always got to watch them. And I actually grew up surfing with Molly. She used to live just down the road from me, so we'd always, like, after school, run down the beach and surf together. So it's pretty sick to watch her do so well, and now I'm pretty excited to be on the CT with her as well.
That's super exciting, and sounds like, maybe dad surfed as well, or if not, he certainly got you and your brothers into it probably from an early age. Were there other sports or activities that you're interested in, and maybe at one point it was maybe not a professional surfing path or interest, it was something else for you?
My dad's surfed his whole life, and he was also a lifeguard for 30 years, so he's been around the beach his whole life as well. But he used to be a professional soccer player, so he tried to get all myself and my brothers into playing soccer, and we used to play all the time, but you couldn't really take us away from the beach. We all just loved going down the beach and surfing, so I feel like we always knew that there'd be something in that. Like, we were always down the beach, and we'd always do like a bunch of different sports, like Oztag and rugby league, and we used to skate as well, and so we were a pretty athletic family. But you definitely couldn't take us away from the beach.
And I love getting this insight from elite level surfers, because it's, especially in 2024, there's such a massive global pool of talented young surfers out there, and it's a smaller group that get to that next level, and a smaller group is, and you see attrition as you get up to the CT level. But for you growing up, did you have a moment that kind of clicked for you where you went, I want to pursue this as a career potentially, or was it more just sort of a natural progression for you?
Yeah, I think it was actually kind of just a natural progression. I always used to do, like, my dad would take us to Grom comps from like the age of like 6. So we were around doing comps like my whole life. Like, even when my older brothers were there, I was like watching and stuff. So I was always just doing comps and really enjoying it and having fun. And it was kind of just like a natural progression of going from the Grom comps into like pro juniors, and then from pro juniors into QSs and stuff. And I did kind of pretty well in some QSs, and I was just like, I'll keep doing it and having fun. And it was always my goal to get on the tour and make the CT. And so it kind of was just natural progression, and pretty stoked.
We talked about, that list of sponsors you're representing at the moment, Quicksilver, DHD, FCS, Monster Army, and Slimes. Like, how long have you been with those different partners, and what was it like, I guess, not only starting with them, but having that success being young, and then kind of going, oh, well, now I'm on the CS, and now I'm doing that, and now I'm on the CT. Did that relationship change with any of them over time?
I've been with like Quicksilver and for I'm not sure how many years now, but a while, and they've supported me super well over the last few years and helped me out with being on the Challenger Series. And then DH, I actually just moved over to surf for Darren last year. So we've just developed like a pretty good relationship over the last year, and he's always like ready to give me time whenever I need, and always ready to push boards through if I need and stuff, which is so good. And then like FCS, I've been on for a few years as well, and they've always been super supportive and helped me out with all the stuff that I need. And then Slimes has helped me out a bunch over the last few years, and they're really supportive as well. And just like stoked with all the support. And it's only just recently I signed with Monster Army, and they've supported me. I actually just signed before the the event in Saquarema. So
lucky sticker then.
yeah.
The DHD thing I want to dive into a little bit. Whose boards were you riding before Darren's?
I was riding Parzel's.
Oh, interesting. Okay. And any reason for the switch? I mean, obviously Darren's, geographically closer. He has got an amazing team as well, but I'm curious if there was a reason or if it was just sort of something you want to try.
Yeah, it was just the boards were going amazing, but it was just felt like I'd have a bit better relationship with Darren, just being like so close. And
sure.
I can't say a bad word about anyone, any of the boards from Parzel or the people. They were all super amazing, but it was just worked out a bit easier to work with Darren and be able to just fly to the Gold Coast and actually like sit in the shaping bay while he shaped and give him some little hints and just make sure he remembers the little details I ask him to do.
I feel like with you in particular as well, like, we run the Vissla CT Shaper rankings. We've done it the last few seasons, crowned the, shaping world champion. And it's been Matt Biolos and Lost Surfboards the last 2 years. But Darren and DHD, they're always in the top 5. They're always challenging. And even this year, like Darren was really animated before the season started about like, I want to win this thing. I've got my team in place. So, adding more bodies to his team in 25 is going to be advantageous. But, just being a several year fan of your particular approach to surfing, I do feel like if you look at their team, like, you Mick Fanning and Ethan Ewing, Steph Gilmore, we talked about Molly Picklum, Liam O'Brien, Connor O'Leary, Isabella Nichols, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
A lot of them are, if you had to kind of like pigeonhole them a little bit, but just for discussion's sake, they're more kind of like rail based, like power surfing. And you've got those tools as well, but you are maybe kind of the most explosive aerialist that Darren's had on the team in quite a while. I'm wondering if your particular approach to above the lip surfing, if you guys have talked about that when you're kind of building boards together and going, maybe I need a little bit more of this or that in my boards compared to some of the other team riders.
To be honest, not really. I feel like I personally just like a normal performance board for doing airs.
Right.
I feel like they work the best for me. So as long as the board has like good release from the top, whether that be like for a big finner or a big air, I feel like it kind of translates really well. And Darren actually, he thinks the exact same. So he's always just like, oh, let's work on getting the boards really good on rail because, well, you can do airs on anything. It's all good. And it's definitely there's some boards that work better in the air, but I don't really know exactly what that takes. But Darren's boards have been working really well, so I'm stoked.
That's very cool. And I mean, what a prestigious team to be a part of as well. Do you get to spend any time with any of the other team riders, your Micks or Ethans or Stephs or anything? And I mean, they've had so much success on the CT as well. I mean, it's even getting to get sort of the benefit of their experience by 1 degree or 2 degrees of separation must just be a huge advantage for you.
Yeah, I haven't really got to spend a whole lot of time with Ethan or Mick or Steph or anyone. I've done a lot of travel with Liam O'Brien,
right?
Which has been really cool. He's helped me out a bunch, and I really admire his surfing. He's such a good surfer in my opinion, and he's like a really good competitor and charges so hard. But it was actually cool. I spoke to Darren the other day, and he said that Mick's really keen to watch me on tour, and if I need to pick his brain on anything next time I'm up, just to send him a message. So that'll be pretty cool to be able to do that.
I like it. Maybe just like 2 minutes before your heat, just give him a buzz and be like, hey, I'm Joel. We haven't met, but, going out at Pipe or whatever. But you mentioned it before. Oh, go on, please. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that I've met and hung out with Mick before, but not like on a super deep level, just kind of in the surf to set hello, and which is pretty sick. Like I've always looked up to Mick and the way he is as a human and surfer, so it's really cool that he wants to give me his time.
For sure. He's a good dude.
Yeah.
You mentioned it before, like considering, maybe I need to spend more time working on my surfing this year. And, you obviously made a great decision in saying, well, I can work on my surfing, but maybe it is at a level that I'll have success on the Challenger Series. When you're having that thought, like, what parts of your surfing did you feel like you needed to work on, and how are you going to go about it? Because obviously for young surfers, especially really talented young surfers like yourself, there's a bunch of avenues you can pursue, and free surfing being a big one of them. The web content you put out's insane. So that's another place that you can kind of ply your trade. But I'm curious as to maybe what your approach was going to be this year and things you wanted to work on, and just your thoughts on kind of free surfing in general as part of your career as a professional surfer.
I think the main things I wanted to work on were just going to some CT venues and getting some practice in, and just surfing some waves like Fiji and J-Bay and stuff like that, and just like working them out and surfing some different boards in those waves instead of just, I kind of surf beaches a whole lot. But we got some slabs around home, so I've grown up surfing some reef breaks, which has been really cool. So yeah, I was just wanted to work on surfing some different waves, like some longer, like point breaks like J-Bay and stuff like that, and see how my surfing goes on waves like that, and see what I can improve on just from watching it. And yeah, it was kind of just my idea, and it worked out. I did a trip to Fiji at the start of the year and got to surf there, which was pretty sick. And yeah.
You mentioned your family earlier, and I think your younger brother is Huey, and he made a bit of a splash at Stab High this year. But it just must be great having 4 brothers that surf at a high level. That obviously the community is important, but living in that house, growing up with those people, and having them push you, it must be really advantageous.
Yeah, it was definitely good to grow up with 2 older brothers who surfed really well as well. They were like the people that pushed me the most to get better, and they were the ones that like showed me how to surf really, as well as my dad and stuff. But yeah, it was just so good, and also having Huey coming up as well. You can't let your little brother get better than you, even though he's surfing amazing. Yeah, so that just drove me to keep trying to get better as well. So it was awesome to grow up with 3 brothers, and yeah, it's epic.
Yeah. We're going to take one more quick break, and when we come back, we will wrap it up with Joel Vaughan. Don't go anywhere. All right, we're back. This is the lineup. I'm Dave Prodan here with North Shelly Beach's Joel Vaughan. Joel is sort of a 21-year-old qualifier coming out of Australia. In the break we were talking about this almost 20 years at the ASPWSL, and the surfing world's changed so much in that time. It feels like it's changed so much, like year to year. When I started, like a young, super talented surfer from anywhere that had qualified for the tour, there'd be profile videos and like magazine covers and marketing campaigns. And, these days, regardless of where you are, it's kind of easy to get lost, so it's exciting to see, the stuff you put up on YouTube. It's exciting to see you surf in the Challenger Series events. Exciting to get to know you on the podcast, of course. But, what do you think about kind of this next generation of Australian surfers? It's been a minute since the Aussie males have held a world title, and I'm wondering if that's something that you and your colleagues talk about. But yeah, give us the insight. Like, what's happening over there at the moment?
Yeah, we all get to travel around doing the Challenger Series together, and while we're home, we all try to hang out and surf and push each other. And yeah, we're definitely like all talking about how someone needs to step up and get that next world title. And we all have been supporting Ethan and Jack the last few years, and they've been surfing so well. But yeah, there's a lot of really good surfers who didn't qualify, but also George has qualified as well, and he's an amazing surfer. But yeah, there's so many surfers that from Australia that are like right there on that kind of 10 to 30 position in the Challenger Series who could all get onto the CT and do so well. You see people like Morgan who did do well, made the final 5 and surfed an amazing year, and then it's just kind of had a couple unlucky years, and he's still on the Challenger Series, but I can see him coming back and making it onto the CT next year and doing amazing as well. So there's definitely some really good surfers coming through, and yeah, it should be exciting the next few years.
You mentioned Morgan, incredible talent, and the way that the tour has been restructured over the last couple of years just went from like fantastic, rookie season to, not making the cut. In 2025, the cut's been moved back a couple events, which I think is fantastic. We've been working pretty hard to make that happen. And so you are guaranteed at least 7 events to start. And those events are Pipeline, Surf Abu Dhabi, Super Tubos in Portugal, Punta Roca in El Salvador, Bells Beach, Snapper Rocks, and Margaret River. Out of those 7, are there a few that you're really looking forward to and maybe a few that you're a little concerned about? Or are you just sort of whatever the ocean throws at you or the wave pool you're into?
Yeah, it sounds like such a good lineup, and I'm stoked I get 7 events this year before the cut. But yeah, I'm kind of just excited to be on the CT and get to surf all the different breaks. I haven't been to El Salvador before. That wave looks amazing. But I'm really excited. I'm excited for Pipe. Excited to get there with only a few other people out and hopefully get some big barrels. Would be pretty sick. So
do you have much experience at Pipe?
Yeah, I've spent a little bit of time out there, but I didn't get to go last year. Was just getting some stuff done before the QS at the start of this year. But yeah, it's such an amazing wave, and such a cool event to start the season off with. So yeah, I'm so excited, and like I said before, my family's going to come and all be there to support me for that event, my first CT ever, and hopefully it's pumping.
Yeah, awesome. And the schedule, of course, we've probably scheduled the most radical whiplash going from Pipeline to the wave pool back to back. But yeah. You've had success in wave pools as well. Like talk to us a little bit about that. And I don't know if you've surfed the Surf Abu Dhabi or the Lemoore system yet, but I'm curious to get your take on that.
Yeah, I actually got to surf it on the way home from Brazil.
Oh, cool.
We flew through Dubai and stayed a night in Dubai, and then was lucky enough to get a little session in and got my first few waves in that system before. I'd never surfed Lemoore before, and so it was such a cool experience. It was actually so tricky for me as well, just knowing that there was like definite sections coming, and you had to kind of just preempt everything in your head before you took off on the wave. Whereas I don't know, I really like to just take off on a wave and just see what's coming and kind of just come off the bottom and do whatever comes natural, which I guess you can kind of do there still, but just knowing that there's like the different sections to the waves, like a pretty weird, but also like so amazing. You get to like see some really amazing surfing being done, and yeah, I'm excited for the event. Should be really cool.
Like it. Well, we're recording this. It's the end of October, so you've got more or less 3 months, right, before the start of the season. What do you do in those 3 months? Do you decompress from, several years at this point, traveling quite a lot? Do you training in the gym? Are you getting your equipment dialed? Are you surfing as much as possible? A combination therein. But what's your game plan between now and, heat 1 of your rookie season?
I actually just called Darren up yesterday and ordered some boards. And if I see a swell over in Hawaii, I'll try to get over there and just kind of fill my boards out. I haven't had any bigger boards from Darren yet. So I'd like to try the step ups out and see how they feel and try to get those dialed before Pipe. And then also, yeah, just training in the gym as much as I can and just trying to stay fit and healthy and, yeah, just surf and just enjoy it all.
Good for you, man. Well, we put a feeler out for questions at the Lineup Pod on Instagram. We got a ton back, but we've whittled them down to 3 for you. First question is from @Trav022, who asks, who were your biggest inspirations and who are your biggest rivals? 2 for 1 question from Trav there.
Yeah, that's great. I've always grew up admiring Kelly Slater and Mick and Joel Parker and Taj Barrow and just watching how they compete and those few guys and obviously John. So it'll be really cool to hopefully get a heat against John in the year. I was actually a bit bummed that Kelly retired, but because I wanted to verse him at some point.
That guy loves a wild card, though, so you never know.
Yeah, you never know. He loves pipe, so hopefully he comes back and get a little heat together would be pretty cool. But yeah, those guys have inspired me so much in my surfing and always watch their surfing still and to meet a few of them like Mick and Parko and Taj and just how much they've helped me out as well. I actually got to have a heat against Parko at the start of the year in this event called the Usher Cup, this board riders event at Snapper, and he was trying to heckle me in the heat and telling me to go bad waves and stuff like that. So that was a pretty cool experience at the start of this year, and so they're the guys that I've always looked up to. For my surfing, and I reckon my biggest rivalry is probably my little brother. Just seeing how well he surfs and get to go surfing every day with him, and he goes and does a big air, so I have to go and do a bigger air. He goes and gets a big barrel, so I have to go get a bigger barrel. But we're always looking out for each other and stuff, so it's a really cool relationship to have, and I'm stoked.
Great answer. Next question is from K.Beachy. We didn't really answer this. We kind of brushed over it, but which event do you think will most suit your surfing?
I'm not too sure. I'd like to think like Snapper and maybe El Salvador. I'd like a right hand point break with sometimes winds coming up the face, so good for airs. Those are probably some of the events I'm really excited for, and also, I'd really like to have a good crack out pipe. Try to get some big barrels would be pretty cool in an event. So yeah, those are the events I'm looking forward to a lot, and yeah.
Good answers. And the last one, we know this guy, is from Mitch Salazar. He is asking, is your preheat playlist still strictly Metallica?
Yeah, it still is. I haven't changed up. Still only listen to a bit of Metallica. Got to get fired up.
Hey, it's working. We love that. So, well, thanks to everyone that we selected your questions from at the Lineup Pod. If we didn't, we'll hit you up on the DMs. So we're now down to the final section of the podcast. This is the lightning round. So these are 10 questions for you to answer as quickly as you can.
Okay.
If you could only have one board set up for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
Glassy and channel bottom thruster.
I like it. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Burrito or pizza?
Burrito.
Last book you read?
I don't know.
That comes up. Best surf film ever?
Trilogy.
The original or the new wave? Have you seen New Wave?
The original.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see it?
I've seen the new one, but I think I like the original.
You and I both. New one's fine. I like the Ethan at Periscope segment, but yeah. I'll do original every day. What is one wave you never have to go back to?
Hopefully Janjuk Beach in Victoria. sorry to all the guys from Janjuk, but I don't like that beach break. I always surf so bad out there.
I feel like it's one of the waves I surf better than the others. So yeah, I'm on the other spectrum. But we used to joke about it back when we used to do the Rip Curl Search events. We'd call it Jukuwatu and be like, yeah, it's going to be a Jan Juk this year.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life and you can dreamcast it, perfect conditions, just you and your friends, which wave would it be?
Probably just one of the local reefs from home. Just nice and close to home, fun barrels, and yeah.
Good answer. Best person to share a lineup with?
I've got to say Huey. He's quite funny and he goes hard and surfs well. So, yeah.
Worst person to share a lineup with?
I don't know. I don't really hassle much out in the surf, so yeah, I don't really have an answer on the top of my head.
That's fair. 1 year on the CT, you may have an answer. You never know. That seems like the CT surfers come up a lot. Everyone's like, oh, it's nothing personal. I just don't want to surf with them ever. Okay, last one. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by...
Getting barreled at part.
Good answer. Joel Vaughan, thanks for coming on the lineup. Congratulations on an awesome year across the board, from the juniors to the QS to the CS. Huge achievement to qualify for the championship tour at 21. And yeah, I look forward to catching up with you down the track.
Sweet. Thanks so much.